adjustment meeting. If you haven't signed in, appreciate if you go ahead and sign in. And we need approval of the April 2nd meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, motion carries. Okay, Charlie, if you'll swear in the speakers.
Yes, sir. Anybody signed in to speak, if you would stand and raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the statement you make tonight to be the truth to the best of your information and belief. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, and we have like to recognize Sonia Barrett for her long term that she sat on this board. And Charlie's going to go ahead and read the proclamation to us.
Yes, sir.
Charlie, can I say a couple of words before you read that?
Go ahead.
Sonia served on this board for 10 years. She did 2 full terms and finished another term for another commissioner. Out of 10 years, she missed 3 meetings. She came to 1 meeting and had to leave 10 minutes early before the meeting was over. And she was probably one of the most dedicated people that I have ever served on the board with. Any board or commission would be well served to have somebody like her. She always went to all the areas, locations. She was well prepared, but she was just totally committed to this board, and I think that says a lot for her.
Yeah,
Proud to serve with her.
no doubt. This is a resolution related to the service of Sonia Barrett, board member and chair. Whereas upon the end of Sonia Barrett's 2nd term on the Scott County Board of Adjustment, it is essential we commemorate her service to this board and community. Sonia served 2 terms, serving as member, vice chair, and as chair. Sonia brought to the board a love for and substantial knowledge of our community. Both served her and our board's work well. Sonia's understanding and work ethic are greatly appreciated and will be difficult to replace. As chair, Sonia diplomatically ran board meetings during several difficult sessions. Every member of the public knew that they had been heard, even when they were not pleased with the final vote. Sonia's participation made our board's public service better. The board is grateful for the standards Sonia maintained throughout her tenure. On behalf of our community and this board, we thank Sonia for her service and wish her the best. Foregoing resolution was approved by unanimous vote. On motion 5, we have it here, Janet, with second by Tommy.
Yep.
Is that right?
Correct.
The board's regular meeting, May 7, 2026. Tommy is signed, not attested.
We'll see about it.
Okay. We'll move on to application S2026-11, Fred Richards, 551 Anderson Road.
Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, the staff would like to inform the board and the public that application S2026-12 pertaining to conditional use permit has been postponed and will not be heard for today's meeting.
Excuse me.
Okay. Okay, I think it's not working. Sorry. Sorry about that. Alright. So the first application is a variance request to reduce the required northern side yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet to allow construction of a lean-to shed. The site is around 5 acres and is accessed from Anderson Road. The zoning of the property is A1, and overall staff recommends approval of this request. Shown here is the aerial view of the map of the site, and the topography that shows that the site sort of slopes down towards the south eastern portion of the property. Currently the site consists of a single family residence and an existing 40 by 60 foot shop structure, and both of these structures meet the 50-foot setback requirement of the A1 zone. So as seen in the image, the existing workshop structure contains two doors of 14 feet along the west side, which would be along the 40-foot facade. While the south side has an 8-foot garage door along the 60-foot facade. And additionally, restroom facilities are located along the east wall that are served by an underground septic system. Therefore, the proposed lean-to shed addition is located on the north side of the property, and the addition is proposed to be open on the east and west ends and constructed with a metal frame extending along the full 60 feet length. Additionally, as shown earlier, the site slopes downwards towards the southeast, which further limits feasible construction areas. Staff also received a letter from the adjoining northern property at 555 Anderson Road stating that they do not object for the proposed encroachment. In reviewing this request, the board is reminded of the criteria outlined under KRS 100.243, which governs the granting of variances. Before any variance is granted, the board must find that the variance will not affect public health, safety, or welfare. It will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. It will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and it will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of zoning regulation. So based on the criteria, staff finds that the request is supported by site-specific constraints, including the existing workshop layout and septic system location, which limit feasible expansion areas. Strict application of the setback would restrict reasonable use of the property, and the hardship is not self-created. Staff further finds that the request would not adversely impact public health, safety, or welfare, nor alter the essential character of the area. In terms of findings, again, the project site is a 5-acre parcel zone A1, which requires a minimum 50-foot setback from all property lines. The property is developed with a single family residence and an existing workshop used for storage and equipment parking. The applicant proposes to construct an 18 by 60 foot lean-to addition attached to the northern side of the existing structure. Existing site conditions limit feasible locations for the proposed addition and create a site-specific hardship. And staff finds that the requested variance is the minimum relief necessary to allow reasonable use of the property. So in conclusion, staff recommends approval of the variance to reduce the required northern side yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet at the subject property with the standard conditions of approval as stated in the staff report. Does the board have any questions for the staff?
Charlie, do you have any concerns? Any concerns from citizens or nearby neighbors?
No,
No phone calls?
no phone call. It's just that the adjoining property at 551 is in support of this encroachment coming near
That's
to the
great.
property.
Is Mr. Richards present?
Yes.
Would you like to add anything to it?
No, I think she stated it well.
Okay.
It looks like you already used that space, right? For the, it looks like a gooseneck or something.
Pardon?
Is it for a gooseneck that's already there or trailer?
I've got a trailer parked there right now, but,
So this would just be a shelter over it?
pardon?
This would just be shelter over it, over a space that's already used?
Yeah, I want to clear out some spot inside the building. I've got a camper inside of it, and I'd like to actually put that over in the lean-to, so it's additional space to clean out my building inside.
Okay, did we hear any motions? Any further questions?
No questions, but I'm ready to make a motion. Okay, I make the motion, we approve application number S-2026-11 for a variance application to reduce the northern side setback from 50 feet to 30 feet to allow construction of a lean-to shed. That's based on staff findings and recommendations of approval.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, the S 2026-12 has been postponed, so we'll move on to S 2026-13, which is Ricky Hall at Boyers Chapel Road.
So the second application is a very similar application to the first one, which is again for a variance to reduce the front yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet to allow construction of a single family residence. The site is around 12.8 acres, is zoned A1 and is accessed from Boyers Chapel Road. Overall, staff recommends approval of this request. Shown here is the aerial view of the property, and the site is currently undeveloped. So the property is part of the North Fork Eagle Creek Farm subdivision, which is an area which is characterized by steep terrain that has historically limited building placement and site development. In addition, overhead electric lines run through the central portion of the property, further limiting feasible building locations. As no other feasible location exists on the property that is suitable for safe and functional construction, the requested variance represents the minimum relief necessary to allow a reasonable residential use of the property. So as seen on the plat, a waterline easement is located along the northern portion of the site, and the staff received a letter from Harrison County Water Association confirming that the proposed placement of the modular home will not impact the existing underground water infrastructure. The guidelines for the KRS 100.243 as mentioned in the previous presentation. Upon review, staff finds that the request is supported by site-specific constraints, including steep topography and overhead electric lines that limit feasible building areas of the property. Strict application of the setback would prevent reasonable residential use of the site, and approval of the variance would not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. In terms of findings, again, the project site consists of approximately 12.8 acres and is zoned A1. The project site is located within the North Fork Eagle Creek Farm Division, where the overall neighborhood consists of very steep terrain that creates challenges for site development. Overhead electric lines run centrally across the property, limiting building options. The property contains unique physical constraints, including steep topography and utilities, which limit feasible building areas and create an unnecessary hardship under strict application of the setback. And staff finds that the request is the minimum relief necessary and will not adversely affect the surrounding area. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of the variance to reduce the required front yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet at the subject property with the standard conditions of approval as stated. I believe the applicant is not present for today's meeting.
I drove by there and looked at that site. Is he gonna have much of a backyard at all in there?
So I can just go.
I mean, not that it has anything to do with this, but it just looks like it's very steep behind where he's gonna put that.
Yeah, so the electric lines sort of divide the property into two, so the rear part of the property just becomes not usable, and given the fact that it is in a very steep terrain neighborhood, the requested location was the most feasible
Yeah,
spot
yeah.
for the residents.
Any further questions?
everything okay with you, Charlie?
Ma'am.
No calls or concerns from neighbors?
No.
Everybody?
I make a motion to accept S 2026-13 Boys Chapter Road based upon the staff recommendations of approval.
All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Okay, against? Motion carries. Okay, the next one is S 2026-14 at 170 Industrial Road.
Hi, it's good to be here tonight. Last case of the night, S 2026-14. We have a conditional use permit for outdoor storage. The location is 170 Industry Road. Access is Industry Road from McClellan Circle. The zoning district is I-1 Light Industrial. The project site is 2.76 acres. The estimated acreage to be developed with this proposal is 1.05 acres, and staff does recommend approval. You can see here the zoning map. We are just outside of the municipal boundary of Georgetown. We've got the I-1 to the south and the west, and then we've got the A-1 to the north. So some conditional use considerations. KRS 111.6 defines conditional uses as those which are essential to or would promote the public health, safety, or welfare in one or more zones, but which would impair the integrity and character of the zone in which it is located or in adjoining zones, unless restrictions on location, size, extent, and character of performance are imposed in addition to those imposed in zoning regulations. And conditional uses can only be permitted in districts as designated under the zoning district regulations and only when specifically approved by the board. So in terms of this being essential to the public health, safety, or welfare, the comprehensive plan does indicate that we need uses of this nature. Economic growth, section 2.1 states that the community and legislation should encourage long-term incremental local business development to benefit the community. And so staff does find that this proposal will provide a direct benefit to local commerce in the surrounding community in the form of providing space to those TMMK track contractors as they perform their necessary function for local industry. And as a last bit, section 453C of the zoning ordinance does list outdoor storage as a conditional use in the light industrial zoning district. So current site conditions, as it currently stands, the current use of the property is 2 primary buildings along the east boundary. I'm sorry, that's a typo there, that are attached, one of which is an office space utilized in the course of business, and the other is a shop area. There is also an existing shop area over to the northeast in the form of another shop area. So the current use of the facilities on the site are consistent with the light industrial zoning classification, and that's because Specialized Precision Services primarily manufactures components for Toyota Motors and other automotive companies in the area. So the site currently has 12,000 square feet of that shop warehouse space and then 5,000 square feet of office space. So you have about 17,000 square feet of existing primary use space total right now. And those current site conditions do meet all the typical minimum standards for the I-1 district. So this is a visual reference provided by the applicant alongside their application. And this is kind of a doctored image by staff to provide a little bit of a better visual reference. The gray is the proposed vehicular use and gravel area. The orange, little orange boxes there are the 30 total 40-foot long and 8 feet wide storage containers. And then that green is the remaining undeveloped area or the green space. And you're looking at about 10 to 15 feet of removal between each of the proposed storage containers. So to get into the kind of the finer details of the dimensions of this proposal, you've got those 30 total containers, each of them being 40 feet wide, or 40 feet long and 8 feet wide. All 30 of those containers put together will take up about 9,600 square feet. The total area to be gravelled is going to be 45,800 square feet. 27,800 square feet of that is going to be gravel vehicular use area, and then the other 18,000 square feet of that is going to be not designated for VUA. So you're looking at about 48,500 square feet total of this proposal, and that's because those storage containers are going to be located on top of the gravel area, and that's about 1.05 acres to be developed as a total with this proposal. So the ordinance specifically does allow for outdoor storage as a conditional use in the light industrial zone, but it does have 4 specific conditions that have to be met in order for it to be approved. So the first, storage has to be incidental and accessory to the principal use of the property. 2, it can't be visible from the right-of-way, in this case industry road, or adjacent area of different zoning classification. So in this case, that A1 to the north. 3, that's basically just provisions about the screening that you need to have to reduce that visibility. And 4, the storage area boundaries must satisfy the minimum setback requirements of the zone, so it can't be encroaching past the minimum setback lines. So we're going to break it down kind of for each of those specific provisions. For the first, storage has to be a secondary use incidental to the existing primary use. Because the existing primary use, as we just talked about with that 17,000 square feet of shop area, is that light industrial manufacturing of car parts. And because these storage spaces will be leased out to contractors that are also manufacturing car parts, it does meet this requirement. And staff does recommend a condition that the storage of car parts needs to function in relation to the manufacturing that is being on site. And it is also dimensionally secondary to the existing primary use in the sense that you have 9,600 square feet of storage space, and that's obviously less than 17,000 square feet of the existing shop and storage or shop and office area. So those second and third provisions, storage must not be visible from the road or adjacent properties of different zones. You can see on the map here, you've got the A1, the adjacent property of a different zone to the north, and then you've got Industry Road, the right-of-way, and it can't be visible from either the red or the green. So to start off with Industry Road, staff does find that the storage area won't be visible from that right-of-way because it will be located behind those existing primary structures on the site. And there's also a decline in elevation grade from the road to the proposed location of these storage units. In regard to the visibility from properties of the different zoning classification, that A1 to the north, the ordinance is going to require the following 3 things where this use is adjacent to the A1. It's going to require a 6-foot tall no-climb boundary fence. It's going to require 50-foot minimum setbacks from that property line. And it is also going to require a 50-foot landscape and land use buffer along that common perimeter. And so all 3 of those things put together is going to reduce and eliminate visibility from that adjacent property. And lastly, storage area must not encroach on typical setback lines. So the storage area is going to be held to those minimum 50-foot setbacks over to the north, where the A1 zone is. And it's also going to be held to the typical I1 minimum setbacks to all of the other property boundaries, which is 50 feet to the front, 50 feet to the rear, and 25 feet to the side. The applicant has also indicated their intent to provide property boundary fencing along all property lines, and that would naturally provide a further level of visual screening, even where it is not technically required by the provisions of the ordinance. And so those 4 specific use regulations for outdoor storage are all going to be enforced at the time of development plan review. And so that brings us kind of to the last point of analysis here. The ordinance is going to require a development plan for this proposal, really just because of its scale. It very clearly shows more than 10,000 square feet of additions and more than 10% of spatial expansion. Staff also notes that because of the scale of the gravel and vehicular use area that you're putting in, there's going to need to be a lot of consideration of stormwater management by engineering staff and planning staff at the time of development plan review. So staff recommends the condition of approval that this development plan needs to come to the commission, but the ordinance would require this in any case. And staff also does note that that vehicular use area may need a development plan waiver from the commission, because the way our code is written right now, it does not allow for gravel as vehicular use area. So findings, the project site is a 2.76 acre property zoned I1. The proposal is defined as a conditional use permit for outdoor storage. As indicated in written submittals by the applicant, the conditional use will consist of 9,600 square feet of storage containers, those 30, 40 by 8 foot containers, 27,800 square feet of vehicular use area, and 17,000 square feet of additional gravel area. The proposal is light industrial in nature, and that is consistent with the intent of the I1 zoning district. The comprehensive plan does indicate a need for uses of this nature, and this proposal does provide a benefit to the public welfare because it provides that necessary function for the local economy. It gives independent contractors for TMMK a space to perform their work. 6, the ordinance is going to require that specific set of standards. Storage has to be secondary to the primary use. Storage must be effectively screened so that it is not visible from the right-of-way or that A1 to the north, and the storage area has to follow the typical minimum setback standards. And all of that can be reasonably expected for the site, and all of it will be required at time of development plan. 5, in light of the large scale of the use, as well as some specific standards to which the site will be held, it will require both preliminary and final development plan prior to construction. The gravel areas may require a waiver for use of gravel as vehicular use area. The site is not located within the floodplain. The site may need a grading or stormwater management plan because of the addition of impervious surfaces. And lastly, the proposal is appropriate for the site because it can be expected to meet all standards for an outdoor storage in the light industrial district. Conditions of approval and current regulations are going to negate any potential negative impacts on the surrounding area. And lastly, the required development plan is going to ensure that all of those standards are properly implemented. So given findings and analysis, staff does recommend approval of this request for a conditional use permit for outdoor storage area of 9,600 square feet of containers, to 27,800 square feet of vehicular use area, and 17,000 square feet of additional gravel area, 1.05 acres in total, in the I1 zoning district at the property address 170 Industry Road. And should the board approve this application, staff recommends the following conditions of approval. We have 4 of our standard conditions of approval for conditional use permits. 5, the storage area shall meet all setback requirements and shall not encroach on those areas. 6, the applicant needs to submit preliminary and final development plan. 7, stormwater and drainage plans must be addressed with the development plan to the satisfaction of the requirements of the subregs and the commission engineer. 8, the 6-foot tall no-climb fence, and then the 50-foot setback and landscape buffer needs to be put in when adjoining that A1 zone land. 9, any and all uses of the applicant or the applicant's potential lessees in relation to the storage containers must meet the standards of light industry as defined by 2.1 of the ordinance. 10, all requirements, those 4 basic requirements for conditional use defined as outdoor storage as outlined in section 453. All requirements of local regulations will be considered at time of development plan review, particularly for implementation of screening and the implementation of the proposed gravel vehicular use area. And last bit here, on the development plan, the applicant shall show the interior landscape area as well as all necessary vehicular use area perimeter screening as required by the landscape and land use buffer ordinance. 13, the use of the storage structures must be incidental to the existing primary use of the site. 14, the issue regarding the gravel vehicular use area will be considered at time of development plan, and it will either conform to the requirements of the ordinance or it will require a waiver from the commission. So thank you for bearing with me through all of that. Does the board have any questions for staff at this time?
Yeah, I got a question. On our, them 30 storage containers, are they having any kind of electric to them or water?
At this time, we have not developed that far, but we're going to look at that through our development plan. I'm Ron Nell, one of the co-owners of the building. Thank you for listening.
Do you own the property?
Excuse me?
Are you the owner of the property as well?
Yeah, I'm co-owner of the physical property, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we, a little history on this is what prompted this. As you know, Toyota's developing and expanding right now. They had laydown areas for us contractors out at Toyota for probably 30 years. They have needed that space recently and asked all contractors to evacuate the site, go elsewhere, okay? It's been a Wild West out there, honestly. We're a prime general contractor that, does a great deal of high-level, high-profile jobs at Toyota. And these sea containers are going to be utilized by us for specialty tools and storage, and also from our subcontractors that are our key subcontractors that we use, mechanical guys, fire control guys, electricians, et cetera, so they can have their products stored close. So they're not physically going to be working or generating or fabricating or building anything in these units.
That's what I had a question. It said exclusively storage, and then I saw manufacturing, and I was like, oh.
Now, the manufacturing takes place in our building. These are just basically how I see this working is the contractors would have their tools within 1,600 feet of Toyota's primary contractor entrance gate, Gate 4, and they would come there in the mornings, grab their tools as necessary for their daily task, go to Toyota, perform their task, and then come back and drop those tools back off in that same sea container. And we've had a lot of people asking about this because we've done a little talking with Toyota already, and they would like to see this happen too because they feel horrible about, having to run everybody off. And ultimately what it's doing is some of these contractors are not local that we deal with on a regular basis. So they're like Ohio or Tennessee, and they cannot physically transport their materials.
But they're not going to stay overnight on this property, right?
No. There's nothing like that going to happen. So they have to, Toyota's paying a super excessive rate right now to try to just logistics alone, getting these people in here and getting them back out. So we're going to try to, cater to the local core group, the people around here first that we do deal with basically on all of our general contracting jobs. And that's just really what prompted it was Toyota. And Also in respect to the neighborhood, our next door neighbor is A&Z Towing. He has 100% of his whole lot gravelled. Our neighbor across the street is a truck leasing company. He has 100% of his lot in gravel. So we still have a lot of grass and green space, even doing what we're proposing after the development would be done. And then, of course, if this is approved by you guys tonight, we have a great professional, Kentucky registered professional engineer that we'll work with and go through an elaborate development plan and give these guys the option to review that as we go through our final development.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I drove out by there, and I think I've got the right place in mind, but was there several items in the front, in the yard?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I
yes.
just want to make sure I was looking at the right place.
We had a bunch of sea containers in Toyota. And so basically, they had gave us originally until they were going to let us go through the July shutdown, which is their, Super Bowl of the year for work. And that was our targeted timeline for the last year. They gave us some heads up on a warning that we were going to have to move. So everybody was kind of just low key, not like, hey, we got a little bit of time here. Then they rolled out a whole nother launch that says, you got like 2 weeks. Everybody's got to go. And I'm talking, there was hundreds of sea containers in the storage area. And so we had to take a lot of stuff out of our building to reorganize it, and we're in like a 2-week organizing plan with pulling the older stuff out of it. We're trying to get rid, sell some of that, and then put everything back in nice and neatly and organized and stored, because we're having to put a whole lot more stuff in a smaller square footage area than we've been accustomed to having.
You all don't have any current code violations or any issues pending or?
No, and we got signatures on that from
Okay.
other departments.
When I was younger, contractors had actual single-wide trailers out there. I remember
Yeah.
going out there on
Yeah.
golf carts.
Me
So
too.
I was making sure, okay, so
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
what that was like, and it was a sea of those
Yeah, that-
trailers. And,
yes, they-
so that was my concern, that those seaport, containers were gonna be offices, which I love a good house that's made out of those. I think they're really cool. But
Right, right.
then you come into the issue of people like staying the night, and
Right,
then they don't have to drive back to wherever they drove from.
Right, no, these guys get local hotels, and, they're all travelers. They're accustomed to the
understand.
hotel life and.
Right, residencies, believe me,
Yes.
I understand.
Yes, yeah, the old former Trailer City, there was one back
That's
on the backside, it's called
Yeah.
Trailer City 1. I stayed in there for 10 years in a single-wide trailer.
Yeah.
Servicing Toyota, I've been on site for 25. But then inside the gate is where they actually had the box containers where they allowed them to store our tools and specialty stuff that
They
Toyota
needed
would
that
need.
space.
They need a lot of space.
Well, I mean, I know that they
Yeah.
needed that space.
Yes.
So I thought that's.
The reason that they went there, it was just all developed and had all their utilities and everything there for their expansion. Of course, they've got tons of space, but I'm sure economically, they figured out that was the best direction to go.
Okay, so all manufacturing's taking place in the
Inside
larger
buildings.
facility?
Inside the buildings.
No grinding or anything out of these, okay?
No, we're not.
So no generators to these,
Not
no,
that
no
I'm
water
aware of.
tanks, okay.
Nothing. No, it's just dry
just,
storage.
I was just ticking off boxes.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, because you think about, these guys will have trailer loads of tools that they've got to
I
get.
know that you know
they'll
exactly
physically
what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, though,
some of these
okay?
guys, like, the whole 40-foot trailer may be emptied in one weekend. That's the
Right. Mm-hmm.
kind of tools they need. And they'll have them crated in there on skids and stuff where, they can get them out quickly and preload their trailers the night before and just pull them right out. It's a pretty elaborate event when they have a big job at Toyota.
Okay, with the screening, you all have a gate code that you're gonna put up or something?
We're discussing that in the plan. I think we will have
Okay.
a lot gate code, and then, we're gonna do, the landscaping outside of the fence also, and then also we're gonna do the blinding slats in the fence, so, no visibility into the area.
My husband works at a large facility, and they have a railroad behind them. And so I've seen and heard a lot about what can happen when you don't have it gated off. And so
Sure.
that was why I was
Sure,
asking.
yeah.
It can turn into a whole different
Yeah,
animal.
a sea container could potentially
Yeah.
have hundreds of thousands of dollars in tools in it. So,
Yeah.
yes, we wanna protect all of our resources there.
All right.
Any other questions?
You got anything you need to add or ask?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
If I can get to the page, I can.
I'll make a motion to accept S 2026-14 based upon the staff's recommendations.
I s-
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
You have a lot to do still.
It's like climbing a mountain. Looking forward to it though.
That's all we have.
Yes, is there anything else?
Yes, your hammer coming down.
Okay. Meeting adjourned?